Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our nightly session of inspiration to get inspired and to call it a night. Let's start this beautiful journey of reading the slight edge once again and going into our world of getting inspired. So, once again, let's read this beautiful book and see what's coming in store for all of us to learn, to take away beautifully. All right. Here we are. So today we're going to be reading the chapter number 5, which is about the quantum leap myth. Someday, when my ship comes in, someday when I have the money, someday when I have the time, someday when I have the skill, the confidence. How many of those statements have you said to yourself? Have I got some shocking news for you? Someday doesn't really exist, never has, never will. There is no someday, there's only today. When tomorrow comes, it will be another today. So will the next day. They all will. There is never anything but today. And some more shocking news. Your ship's not coming. It's already here, docked and waiting. You already have the money. You already have the time. You already have the skill, the confidence. You already have everything you need to achieve everything you want. You just can't see it. Why not? Because you're looking in the wrong place. You're looking for the breakthrough, the quantum leap. You're looking for the winning lottery ticket in a game that isn't a lottery. Have you ever noticed that when you read stories about lottery winners, they hardly ever bank presidents, successful entrepreneurs, or corporate executives? That they never seem to be people who were already financially successful before they bought that winning ticket. Have you ever wondered why? It's because successful people never win the lottery. Why not? Because they don't buy lottery tickets. Successful people have already grasped the truth that lottery players have not life. Life is not a lottery. Success is not a random accident. Greek gods and real heroes. In ancient Greek theater, characters generally got themselves into as much of a mess as a playwright could possibly dream up. Everything would be headed for an absolutely impossible disaster when, in the last few months of the play, an actor playing a god would come floating down from the sky to make everything right, banishing this character and reinstating that one, punishing another and granting divine clemency to still another, explaining the inexplicable and solving the insoluble. Things would be in such a mess. There'd be no way a human being could sort the stuff out. Obviously, it would have to take a being with divine powers, and just like in a state production of Peter Pan, the actor would be suspended by ropes and a system of pulleys, a mechanical contrivance they termed a machine or machina. Today, thousands of years later, people still refer to a last minute cheat solution for an impossible problem coming out of thin air as a Due Machina, or solution for an or God dropping in out of nowhere by a machine, the supernatural. Breakthrough, force that pops in just to make all things right. And by the way, when critics say a play, novel, or film uses a Due Machina, it's not a compliment. It's their way of saying, oh, yeah, right. Couldn't come up with a real solution, huh? So you had to trot into a Due Machina. Give me a break. And that is just what it is. People are hoping for a break, the big break, the lucky break, the breakthrough, a break in the routine, a break with reality, a Due Machina. But that's not how things really work. Okay, then, how do things really work? Look at some of the real world problems that would have made Athena or Apollo or any other deity of Greek drama pull out their hair. William Wilberforce spent his entire career introducing bill after bill to his colleagues in the British Parliament in his efforts to end slavery, only to have them defeated one after the other. From 1788 to 1806, He introduced a new anti slavery motion and watched it fail every single year for 18 years in a row. Finally, 3 days before Wilberforce's death in 1833, Parliament passed a bill to abolish slavery not only in England but also throughout its colonies. 3 decades later, a similar bill would pass in the US, spearheaded by another man of conscience who had also spent much of his life failing. Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation of Proclamation. I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's Machina or Makina. So, I mean, pardon my pronunciation. Far from it. These were human problems and they had human solutions. But the only access to them through is the slight edge. Of course, Wilberforce and Lincoln were not the sole figures in its heroic struggle, and even after their bills were passed into law on both sides of the Atlantic, the evils of slavery and racism were far from over. But the efforts like Mother Teresa's efforts to end poverty, Gandhi's to end colonial oppression, or Martin Luther King's and Nelson Mandela's to end racism are classic examples of what breakthrough looks like in the real world. All of these real life heroes understood the slight edge. None of them were hypnotized by the allure of the big break. If they had been, they would never have continued taking the actions they took. And what would the world look like today? One small step. Our cultural mythology, the philosophy our society subscribes to as a group, worships the breakthrough even when we don't realize that's what we are doing. One small step for a man. Nonsense. That wasn't one small step. The guy was on the moon. That was one gigantic step for man, a genuine breakthrough. This small step was when some guy, someone you and I never heard of, first started tinkering with design ideas for how a rocket ship might withstand the intense conditions of space flight. There were thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of one small steps for years and years beforehand that all went into the epic 1969 leap of Neil Armstrong that was televised throughout the world and is still playing over and over in our culture as one of the most deeply ingrained news bites of history. But we don't celebrate any of those real small steps. We don't even know what they are or who made them. The myth of our culture is a giant step, the larger than life leap, the heroic effort, faster than speeding bullet able to. Wait, how does that go again? Is it able to take small, insignificant, incremental steps consistently over time? No. It's able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. I mean, what kind of Superman would take tiny steps? The kind who wins, like Edison and his light bulb. There's a popular expression these days: luck is preparedness meeting opportunity. It's a nifty little saying, and it's close, but in my experience, it isn't quite accurate. Luck is preparedness, period. Preparedness through doing those simple little constructive, positive actions over and over. Luck is preparedness that eventually creates opportunity. That's the truth of big breaks, lucky breaks, and breakthroughs. They do happen, just not out of thin air. Have you ever suddenly understood something in a flash of recognition? Have you ever known of someone who became an overnight success? Here is a secret. Both that sudden flash and that overnight success were the final breakthrough results of a lengthy process of edge upon edge. You may completely and absolutely trust in the truth that it is always the little things done consistently over time which bring about the breakthrough that you see. No success is immediate, nor is any failure instantaneous. They're both products of the slight edge. The truth of quantum leaps is that they are not larger than life, they are submicroscopic. The actual term quantum leap comes from particle physics, where it does not refer to a huge epic jump. It refers to the fact that energy, after a period of time, will suddenly appear at another level without our having been able to observe how it got there. It's an exact description of how the water hyacinth moved from day 29 to day 30. An exact description of how the frog certain death by drowning was suddenly transformed into salvation by butter. A real life quantum leap is not Superman leaping a tall building. A real quantum leap is Edison perfecting the electric light bulb and transforming the world with it. Let's read about the magic bullet. Every single January, in every gym in America, hundreds of thousands of people start over in a process that they will soon quit only because they haven't set themselves up with the right expectation. They aren't looking for incremental progress, they're looking for results they can feel. They're looking for a breakthrough they never had a chance. Easy to do, easy not to do. And that tiny, seemingly insignificant little choice not to do, so many people needlessly live out lives of quiet desperation. Believing in the big break is worse than simply being futile. It's actually dangerous because it can keep you from taking the actions you need to take to create the results you want. It can't even be lethal. Think of the poor frog that gave up and let himself drown because he couldn't see a breakthrough on the horizon. He was wrong. Of course, there are miracles even in the life of a frog. It's just that the breakthrough didn't come down out of the clouds. It came at the end of a series of consistent, determined, compounding interest foot paddlings. What's the greatest gift you can give to an inner city kid? An understanding of the slight edge, because that's not the answer he's getting from the world around him. He believes that the only way out of his world of poverty, violence, oppression, and fear is to become a sports superstar. Because that's what we tell him. That's the quantum leap answer. The truth, of course, is that very, very, very few individuals will have the talent to break out of that kind of world by becoming sports superstars. And deep down, every one of these kids knows that or soon finds out. So they give up. Why bother? And they become victims of the quantum leap myth. Can you imagine if every first grader was required to start reading 10 pages of a good book a day? How would their finances, their health, their relationships change as adults? I'm going to read all of us a story on the left page, one quality story at a time. The good friend Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, co-authors of the blockbuster Chicken Soup for the Soul series of books, understood that long-term success is built not only on being prepared, but by offering a quality product that people will continue to buy for years and years to come. I remember sitting with Hansen when he and Canfield had a vision for a book concept that had never been done before. As speakers, they were known for their motivational stories and quotes that they would weave into their speeches. Fans loved their stories so much they inquired if they could put these stories and quotes into a book. Instead of using their own stories, they reached out to fans and others to submit stories of people doing extraordinary things. All they had to do was carefully edit and compile them into topics that people would want to read. Once they had one title down, their plan would be to do the other titles based on the same format. I have to admit, I wasn't too sure that was a very good idea. In fact, I told Hansen he had a 50-50 chance of success. I didn't know if people would want to read a collection of stories written by everyday people, but they had a clear vision of what they wanted to do, how they were going to do, and how they were going to get there. I wouldn't be a slap. I wouldn't be going. Sorry, I don't get this. I wouldn't be a slap it together and shove it out of the door kind of project. They knew it would take time to get the right stories, and a lot of work went into evaluating each and every story they put in. 101 to be exact in their first book. They also knew the name of the book would be key, for they wanted the stories to have a healing effect. Much like the chicken soup Canfield's mother would give him as a child, the name stuck. When it was released in 1993, the media didn't pay much attention or have much use for it. But word of mouth spread like wildfire, and many people were buying several copies at a time to give to family and friends. By September 1994, Chicken Soup for the Soul was on every bestseller list in the US and Canada. Over the next 10 years, Chicken Soup for the Soul branded merchandise reached over 2 billion in retail sales. As of this printing, over 112 million books, not to mention CD and DVD collections, and many other projects, have been sold in over 200 titles and 40 languages. Hansen and Canfield weren't looking for a quantum leap to success. They knew that one quality story at a time would eventually get them to where they wanted to be. Slight edge for teens making a difference. A few years ago, we partnered with the Success Foundation to write Success for Teens. Real teens talk about living the slight edge. It is a wonderful book that skillfully illustrates the importance of young kids of clarifying their goals while practicing the small efforts necessary for success and accepting responsibility for one's own destiny. Organized in an easy to read format and sprinkled with engaging exercises, action steps, and stories from real teen success for teens helps teens embrace 8 principles that will allow them to shape the futures that they want. So, for more information, the details are given below. Now, let's read Crisis of Poor Health. Over the last several decades, it's been amazing to me how many people I've been close to have persisted in making fun of my dietary choices, exercise habits, and personal development goals. The insignificant little things I've been doing every day for years that have always been stuck, I always struck them as funny because they couldn't see the point. They couldn't see the results coming further on down the path. Today, I see these friends and ache for them. Many now have failing health, are languishing in poor financial conditions, and seem to have lost their hopes for the future. What they have a hard time seeing is that my good health isn't an accident and their poor health isn't a stroke of bad luck. We've all gotten to where we are today the exact same way, the slight edge. They are victims of the quantum leap myth. Our society is sliding rapidly into an ever increasing economic crisis of poor health, including an epidemic of adult onset diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and a score of other chronic illnesses that have steadily fed a monstrously overgrown healthcare system, tax systems, and social security system. And there isn't a single cause anywhere in sight. As I'm writing this, several of our most widely used over the counter drugs have suddenly been found to make things worse. There is no mystery for those who know how to recognize a slight edge at work. Our entire health crisis is nothing but one set of little decisions made daily and compounded daily, winning out over another set of little decisions made daily and compounded daily. We look for the cure, the breakthrough, the magic pill, the medical scientific quantum leap miracle. Our press has dubbed the magic bullet. But the solution already exists. It always did. Is it magic? Yes. The same magic that caused the problems, the power of daily actions compounded over time. The magic of the slight edge. There's a great line in the movie Bruce Almighty when God, played by Morgan Freeman, is leaving the all too human Jim Carrey character to solve things on his own and refusing to be a dude a machina. He says, "You want a miracle? Be the miracle." Once you absorb the slight edge way of being, you'll stop looking for that quantum leap and start building it. You too can become the miracle. How wonderful. All right. Let's revise what we have read today and understand what can be done. So while we talked about yesterday about the power of the penny, where one penny makes a big difference. And we also understood a few fundamentals where we thought about that, greatness is always in the moment of the decision. So when you have to take a decision, just take it, abide by it, do it step by step by step. And there are only two options when you make a choice. One is success and one is a learning. There's nothing called a failure. In our quantum leap myth, we have understood some very important things. These important things are that the start has to be now. It doesn't matter how prepared you are because you're always prepared. The point is, we are looking at some other zone in some other perspective and we think we are not ready. But until the going gets tough, the tough doesn't get going. So we got to engage ourselves and we've got to say that the someday is today. Otherwise, it's never, ever, ever coming back. And we were taught today very categorically that if we are of a winning mindset, which means if we inculcate the slight edge mindset, then we will not look for free chances or free breakthroughs, and we will know that whatever we do, we have earned it ourselves. The big break will come when we are prepared with our smart work with a slight edge in our life. Then nobody will say that, oh, she got a lucky break. We were also taught that one small step, every small step makes a big difference in life. And when we keep taking that step by step by step by step, then we become so much more successful, because then what happens is people see that we get lucky, but actually we may not got lucky. We've been prepared to become lucky because we've created that opportunity to become lucky. And success doesn't happen overnight. If it happens overnight, failure will also happen overnight. But success instantaneous nahi hota. Both of them are there because you have a slight edge, believing in it, working towards it. And when we read about the magic bullet, we talked about that people who want that lucky breaks, the big breaks, are simply wasting your time because it's very, very dangerous, because it will deter you from the path of working smart and having the slight edge. You will be just looking for opportunities, and that in itself is going to be really pathetic. We also talked about that how Jeff Olson's friends have become poor in their health and poor in their finances. Why? Because they did not have that slight edge, they did not work towards it, and they were laughing at Jeff Olson's when he wanted to talk about the life edge. We also talked about a very important thing. Society is leading towards poor health with all the fast food junk and all the diseases that are coming up. And why is it happening? Because people are not understanding the power of patience planning. Now, medication is happening across the counter. Chronic illnesses are growing crazily because the slight edge philosophy is not being used. So, this is what we learned today. And we also learned a very powerful line from the movie, which we all saw, God Almighty, that if we want to be a miracle, we have to be the miracles. And we definitely can become the miracles because the power lies within us. Wonderful. Now it's time for a Lotus of Gratitude meditation. So let's just close our eyes. Take a deep breath in. Gently hold the breath in your stomach. Expand it, make it really expansive. And gently keep exhaling the breath, not in one go together. Gently keep exhaling. This way, you're giving your body a signal to breathe deeply, which means relaxation. Take another deep breath in. Breathe in and breathe out with your own pace. And the third deep breath for the night. Take a deep breath in and a deeper breath out. Now, those of you who want to sleep immediately after the session, just tighten your body, just as if it's in stress. Just like squeeze it and relax. Again, squeeze it and relax. Third time, squeeze it and relax. Now let's bring our hands at two tiny lotus buds. So left hand together as if you're holding something, with your fingers and your thumb coming together, and right hand the same way. And let's take quiet 100 quiet seconds, and think of the 10 great, wonderful things that have happened today, or maybe from last night until now. And keep opening one finger as one petal, and keep thanking for something great that's happened. And if not, nothing great has happened, and something which you're thankful for. It could be anything. Life is magical. Life is a series of blessings. The more blessings we count, the more blessings we'll feel. Let's keep being blessed. Let's keep expanding our gratitude. And then life will give us so much more to be grateful for. Let's make our hearts expansive and open your hands in a way that you're blessing the world. Let our blessings heal the world. Let our blessings go far and wide. Let they roar higher up. May everybody, wherever, whoever is looking forward to being successful, discover the slight edge in him or her. With love, light, and blessings, let's close the day. Sleep tight and have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining.